Welcome back, guys. We are here for another one of our limited set reviews. If you guys missed our introduction to Tales of Middle-earth or our video on all of the white cards in the set, make sure you guys go back and check them out after this video. But today we're going to be taking a look at all of the blue cards in the new Lord of the Rings set and giving them a rating between 1 through 5 for limited. We've got Yanks on the call as always, who's going to give us a little bit of storyline and a little bit of a perspective from a control player's point of view. All right, welcome back, Yanks.
Thanks. I mean, it's good we're doing blue now, because after this, we don't have to do any of the other colors. This is all that matters.
All right, so let's start off with Arwen's Gift, 4 mana for a sorcery. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you control 2 or more legendary creatures. Scry 2, then draw 2. So it's like a really good divination if you have 2 legendary creatures, but it's weird because this is not the legendary creatures matters colors, right?
No, it isn't, but I think every color is going to, it seems like, to use the ring to some degree, so that's a legendary permanent right there.
So you just need 1 more, and even then, I think this is fine rate on its own.
Yeah, you're certainly playing this even without that, but just taking a quick look through blue, I'm counting 5, 6 legendaries that are uncommon.
Okay, and that's in a non-legendary matters color, so if you're in like blue-black or blue-white, then you're likely to have a slightly higher average across your 2 colors. So overall, I think that this is going to be playable no matter what your legendary count is, but of course, if you're casting it for 3, you're much happier. Although I guess if you already have 2 legendary creatures out, you're pretty late into the game, so you probably have the excess mana anyway. A little harder to make sure you hit your 4th land drop with this, which Divination does nicely.
Yeah, true. That is, even sometimes when you get these sort of divination pluses that cost 4, that's kind of the hidden downside.
Yeah, like sometimes needing a 3 there is super important. You're like land 2-drop, and you're just like, if I don't hit my 3rd or whatever, my 4th, then you can do the thing. But anyway, I still think it's very playable. What do you think rating wise?
I mean, these cards are usually like around a 3.
Okay,
they're good, but you're not going to play. The real downside is you can't play too many of them because they don't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Like progress the board, but
it's going to depend on what other kind of removal or what other kind of draw spells there are, because I feel like we're getting access to more and more draw, especially in other colors that pair really well. So I find that Divination or Divination pluses for me have been slightly lower on my totem pole just because I'm able to pick up all of the like fringe card draw from other areas. So it's like, oh, I don't need to necessarily dedicate a spell to it because I have card draw attached to a body, card draw attached to a land. So I'm able to like sort of mitigate some of that and pick these up a little bit lower. So I'll say 2.5 unless you have some legendaries, but I still think you're playing one of these in every deck.
I mean, that's a fair point. In my opinion, completely bizarre reason to keep giving white and green card draw lately has made these cards worse.
You don't get to keep all the cards to yourself, Yanks. Some of us like to play with cards too.
Blue doesn't get to gain life. Why does white get to draw cards?
I don't know. Cry more about it.
No, I mean, there's a one-word answer for why, which is Commander.
All right, the Bath Song. That's a weird one. It reminds me of like No Face, but here we are. It is a saga for 4 mana, chapters 1 and 2, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library, add blue. So it is slow card advantage, and it does let you sort of like filter and like increase the density of your deck, which is nice. You're going to draw more gas in that mid to late game. There's a Historic Matters deck, right?
Yeah, or at least Historic Matters cards for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to think what I like better here, because both this and the last card both let you theoretically see 4 cards and keep 2. I'm not entirely sure which I think is more powerful. Probably this. Just because you could pitch you could be holding useless cards in your hand, you could pitch and actually draw new ones.
That's true. Yeah, so you actually get a little bit more value if you can pitch like a
Yeah.
land late game, and you're like, okay, now you're getting like 3 card value out of this.
Yeah.
Hmm. But the other one is this one's slower, so if you're trying to hit that 5th land or you know what I mean, like that's
Sure.
a little on the low side. I think it's probably on par, just because slower, slightly edge on value in one case or another, and if you're in a grindy game, sometimes adding 5 cards to your thing is your deck is going to be good. Put your like 2 best removal spells back in your deck, never bad. I think this is going to be playable.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I guess if I gave the last card a 3, I would probably give this a 3.
I'm probably still in the 2-5 boat. It's a little slow
Yeah.
for me, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking more and more I might be leaning more towards what you said, 2.5, just because there is more card draw in sets nowadays.
Yeah. I convinced you. Also, I didn't really notice, but I've got the green screen on my shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I have an invisible boob. Sorry, YouTube. All right, Bewitching Leechcraft. We've got an Enchant Aura, 2 mana. It enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchant creature has, if this creature would untap on your next untap step, remove a +1/+1 counter from it instead.
So just like a weird tap down enchantment.
If this creature would untap during your untap step, remove a +1/+1 counter. Interesting. So it's whether it has the counters or not, it doesn't untap, and it as the nice added bonus, if it has +1/+1 counters, you're also slowly removing them.
Yeah, I mean it's strictly worse than the ones we usually see, right, where they just don't ever untap. But that's why this is only 2 mana.
If you do untap it. So if it has a +1/+1 counter, you can untap it. And if it doesn't have a +1/+1 counter, you cannot.
If it has one, you have to untap it and remove the counter because it's not a May.
Yes. So if you're putting this on a creature that does not have a +1/+1 counter on it, it will never untap unless they
just a sleep or a paralyze or something, one of those cards.
And if it has +1/+1 counters, then they basically get like a reverse stun counter. They can remove a counter, untap it, and then eventually it goes back to being permanently tapped. So it is a little cheaper, but I actually think I'm okay with this clause.
Yeah, we have to see how much +1/+1 counters factor into this set, but
and it's going to be kind of cool to see people put a +1/+1 counter on it, like on end step or whatever, to untap it for 1 turn and have it re-lock down. Like, it's going to add a lot to think of, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card's good. It's certainly worth the 2 mana you're paying for it, and yeah, most of the time in limited, at least, it probably is just going to lock something down.
Yeah, rating wise, I mean, these are usually Blue's premium enchantment or premium removal, so it's like a 3/5.
Yeah, I think it's a 3/5 unless we start to see that there are a lot of counters in this set, in which case it'll go down a bit.
Next up, we've got Bill Ferny, Bree Swindler, 2 mana for a 2/1 human rogue. Whenever the creature name becomes blocked, choose 1, create a treasure token. Target opponent gains control of target horse you control. If they do, remove Bill Ferny from combat and create 3 treasure tokens. The silly horse. All right.
If you remember from our white video, we talked about Bill the Pony.
Mm-hmm.
And the story behind that, this is the guy that owned Bill the Pony and also kind of stole or released all of the Hobbit's horses in Bree. Yep. So he's basically a horse thief.
And then he sold them the pony for a high rate, right?
Yep. And then he was working for Saruman, and he was then present at the Battle of Bywater at the end of the story, and Bill the Pony literally kicked his ass.
I remember that. Yep. Okay. Rating wise, honestly, this seems pretty good. If you trade and make a creature for it, then that's great. The pony thing, probably not relevant. So, like, I'm just happy to consider this like a 2 mana 2/1 that will eventually kind of give me a treasure, I hope, with a trade.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
You gotta pick your spots for it, of course. If you can't let it get, just eaten by a 3/3, then it's a 2 mana treasure, feels bad. But I think if, you're in the aggressive deck and you're able to kind of put your foot on the gas with this and make a trade with a 2/2 or, even 1/1, whatever, like it's giving you a treasure, that's fine. Rating wise, it's probably just a 2.
Yeah, that's what I've got it at. If some reason you have bad horses you want to give them, I guess.
Yeah, a horse that makes them lose the life or something every turn.
Yeah.
All right, Birthday Escape. Draw a card. The ring tempts you. Yeah, I'm kind of into. I don't know why. I'm gonna be tempted so much, guys. Like I'm super tempted. I'm gonna say this is playable, regardless of where we're at. It's probably just a 2, but if you really want to be tempted, then you're gonna be happy to play this.
Yeah, I think this is just a 2. It's cool flavor, cool name and flavor, right? Because that's exactly what happened. And he popped the ring on his finger at his birthday party, and as Flavortex said, was never seen in Hobbiton again.
All right. Born Upon the Wind, 2 mana for an instant. You may cast spells as though they had flash this turn, and you draw a card. So it cycles and allows you to cast other things that have to have flash, like creatures, blockers, sorceries. That's pretty neat. It cycles by itself, which means it's going to be playable. And in the late game, I think it's pretty nifty. You can sneak lethal. You can sneak blockers. You can do so much with this. I don't think we're ever cutting it.
I'm trying to figure out why this card's rare.
I
mean, I know Quicken was a rare, but that was a long time ago.
It's probably a rare because it's probably a constructed thing, and maybe they want it to have some dollar value.
Maybe, yeah.
Some excitement value for commander players, right? If it's an uncommon, then maybe it's less exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I think this is kind of just like the last card. It's a 23rd playable.
Yeah, I totally agree. But there's a ton of rares and mythics that are unplayable in limited oftentimes. So I don't know if that rarity ever determines whether or not it's playable thing in limited.
No, I agree. Although those a lot of times are big, flashy, build around weird things. This is very simple, which is why I'm surprised it's a rare.
Yeah, I mean, think about cards like Once Upon a Time, right? Banned for constructed.
Okay, pick the card that absolutely should never have been made.
But in limited, it wasn't groundbreaking, right? That's what I'm saying. No. They have cards like this all the time that are just
I agree. I'm not suggesting that the rarity plays into the rating. I was just kind of reading it and I was surprised by it.
Fair enough. I think it's a fine playable. I don't think I'm cutting this. I'm probably going to give it a little bit higher than you, a 2.5, just because I think the downside is, next to nothing. And I think you're going to get some good value out of the flash mechanic here.
Yeah, I think I'm sticking at a 2.
All right, Captain of Umbar, 3 mana for a 2/3. You can pay 1 and tap, draw a card, then discard. So it's just an on-rate looter. I think that's fine. I'm pretty happy to play it. Human Pirate, sweet. What do you think?
Yeah, I love looters. I think it's a 2/5. It's nothing spectacular, but it's fine.
Yeah. This gets better when you have a lot of things you want to dig for. The more control-y that your deck is, the better. The more aggressive I want to be, the little less interested in I am in this. Human might be relevant in Azorius because I know it makes human soldiers. I don't know if there's any human synergies or if those were more soldier synergies, but we'll see. I think this card is very playable. Looting is always really good. Good curve filler, so it's probably a 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I got it at 2.5.
All right, Council's Deliberation, 2 mana for an instant, draw a card. Whenever you scry, if you control an island, you may exile Councils of Deliberation from your graveyard. If you do, draw a card. Okay. What's up?
Stop trying to make accumulated knowledge playable in Modern Magic. It just isn't. They keep doing versions of this, 2 mana draw a card, and then you get extras if they're in the graveyard.
Yeah, but that's not what this says. This says whenever you scry, you get to do a thing.
You get to do it once.
Yeah, but it doesn't have
Yeah,
anything
it's
to
just
do with like more of them being in your graveyard.
no, but it's trying to find a way to put 2 mana, draw 2 or more, in this case 2, on a 2 mana spell, and it's
Yeah,
relying on the graveyard.
I think this is okay if you have
Yeah,
reliable scries. It's a thing I would use, but in general, probably not. A little
agreed.
too. It's certainly not playable without them. I would probably need at least like 5 consistent scries, maybe even a creature that scries multiple times in the set of 5 to make me interested in this in any way. But beyond that, no, I'd much rather take any of the other card draws we've seen thus far.
Yeah, blue-green is supposed to be like a Scry Matters deck to some
Yeah.
degree, so maybe we will see some repeatable Scry effects.
All right. For me, I think this is a 1. Maybe it'll see play in like one deck.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Deceive the Messenger, 1 mana for an instant. Target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn, and you amass Orcs 1. You make a free 1/1 body for just 1 mana. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty low impact card, but it's fine for 1 mana.
Yeah, we've seen like 3 mana -4/-0 draw card. Like those are, I love those. Those are getting quite good for me, but for only 1 mana, I think this is a fine card. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I think I've got it at like a 1/5. I guess if you have a lot of amass stuff, then it gets better, but yeah, I've probably got it at a 1/5.
Oh. I think I'm going to try to find room to play that in a fair amount of decks, so a bit higher. All right, Dreadful as the Storm, 3 mana for an instant. Target creature has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. The ring tempts you. So you just make something beefy and you get to tempt the ring. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of cards have been playing better in recent sets than I remember them in the past. These
Yeah,
sort of one-off, make something big.
But they've been drawing you card recently.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it better. But like the ring tempts you can offer a substantial amount of value if you have some synergy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's another cool kind of flavor card, right? It's showing the moment where Frodo effectively offered the ring to Galadriel, and this is when that's what she said. Like, if she had taken it, she would become terrible, etc., and then declined to take the ring.
Interesting. That is very flavorful. I didn't actually recognize that scene. Rating wise, for me, this is just a 2. It's going to be cuttable most of the time, but fine to play if you have the room.
Agreed.
All right, I will let you take this one.
Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. 2 and a blue for a 3/2 legendary elf noble. Whenever Elrond or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, the ring tempts you.
I like that it's a recurring ring attempt. Like it by itself, it can help you do a thing.
Yeah, I mean, on its own, with absolutely nothing else, it's a 3 mana 3/2 scry 1.
Yes.
Which is fine. And then you get to keep scrying, which might be relevant in Council's Liberation or Blue-Green.
You get to draw an extra card.
Yeah. Anytime a creature enters battlefield. And then if you play anything that like makes tokens, or you get later in the game where you can cast multiple spells, yeah, you get a free tempt.
Yep.
Okay with that.
I like that it's a thing that triggers multiple attempts or has the ability to do so, where I'm worried that some decks will just not have enough attempt and you'll never be able to finish. Like you maybe get 1 or 2 triggers, which is still probably worth having because it's stapled onto a thing that's playable anyway. But I like the idea that this can go coast to coast on the dungeon-esque ring, right?
Yeah, the ring's a little weird because you only need 4 tempts to get through to give it all of its abilities, but you also then still need to be able to keep tempting to get it onto new creatures. Like if the creature dies.
If the creature dies, for sure.
Yeah.
One of them like helps make it unblockable or something.
Yeah, it's the creature's a power greater than it.
So I'm I'm a little less worried about that just because like it also does give some evasion. But yeah, you do definitely need to be having enough so that way you can capitalize on having the ring, and then you need to have some extra so that way you can continue to cash in on that. So it's tough, and I think that this card is the type of thing that you want to see, which just gives you that option at all times. You got to have the cards or play into it, hold on to your spells kind of thing, but at least you have that option, and I like that being built in. For me, this is a little bit on the higher side. Like I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is a 3.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like it as a 3.
All right, Gandalf, Friend of the Shire. 4 mana for a 2/4 flash. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had haste. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, as the ring bearer, draw a card. I love that, and it's so flavorful. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the first time we're seeing a character for the second time in the set. Like, this is the second Gandalf card we've seen, and so they're doing that so they show you the legends at different parts of the story, and this is like the very beginning of the story when he shows up to the party with he's known as the wizard, the friend that brings fireworks.
Yeah.
And shows that. What I didn't think about when we talked about the white Gandalf, and I'd be curious if we see any more of them, if it's true. The fact that they both have flash, I'm kind of wondering if that's a reference to the old, a wizard arrives exactly what he means to line. He has flash. He can show up whenever.
That's true. That is very clever. I would not have thought of that. I do remember that line, but would not have dawned on me, but that's very cute. I also want to note that this is one of the pieces. These have a 3-card like panorama scene, and I think the full arts are going to look super dope. So I really like the art style on this card. Rating wise, I think that it's very good. 2/4 with flash, and you may cast sorceries from then on though they have flash. That alone is fine, and then getting to draw additional cards off of your temps is actually kind of busted. I think this is a great synergy to have in any deck with little, any amount of ring bearer bestowing makes me want this for sure. And I'm going to play it even without it. So I think this is like a 3. And if you have like ring bearer stuff, it's going to play much higher.
I think it's a 3, and if you ring bearer, right, also blue-red is a spells matter deck, so you may have a lot of sorceries in that deck, especially like removal spells that could be pretty nice being able to play at instant speed.
True. Rating-wise, what do you think?
Yeah, 3. I like it as a 3.
All right. Glorious Gale, 2 mana for an instant counter target spell. If it was a legendary spell, the ring tempts you. 2 mana, just straight up counter target creature spell. So it's a Essence Scatter plus.
Yeah.
Great. I'm down to play that every time. So this is probably a 3.
Yeah, I think it's a 3, right? I mean, the power in most limited decks are creatures. So 2 mana, Essence Scatter is always good, and this is just better.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on how many legendary creatures there ends up being, I could see this being slightly better, especially if your deck wants to be tempting. And I think that these temps are actually going to be quite good. So we'll have to see how strong these actually are. But we kind of learned our lesson with learn and lesson, right? Like they ended up being quite powerful. These are not giving you additional pieces of cardboard, but they kind of are. The ring is very powerful if it's connecting and doing what it wants to be doing. I think that this is going to surprise us. Well, not really, because I clearly think that, but I think it is going to be very good and it will surprise some of you.
Yeah, I think this is a little less powerful than Learn Lesson, but it also requires far less work to set up.
Yeah. Goldberry River Daughter, 2 mana for a 1/3 nymph. She's thick. You can tap, move a counter off of each kind not on Goldberry River Daughter from another target permanent you control to Goldberry. You can pay a blue and tap, move 1 or more counters from Goldberry onto another target permanent you control. If you do, draw a card. Okay. So put counter, like take a +1/+1 counter, put it back onto something else, draw a card, so you get to like do this like slow moving thing. But what other counters do we want to be moving that we're going to get benefits from? Like what is this enabling outside of just being a slow thing on your own?
That's a good question. We haven't seen any other counters yet. Well, stun counters, I guess. But I think that's it we've seen. Like,
that's kind of cute. You could remove a stun counter. Oh, you could remove a saga counter.
Yep, you could. Yeah, lore counters. Yep, good call.
Good call, Bio. Well done.
I don't believe we have no planeswalkers in this set, so there's no loyalty counters.
I mean, let's just say hypothetically, you take a +1/+1 counter from your creature and you move it back onto your creature and draw a card. Is that a thing we're willing to do or wanting to be doing? I think yes, only because it's a 1/3 for 2. Like it's a curve filler. I often need 2-drops. This is going to be better than your run-of-the-mill 2-drop. Is this a rare that I'm excited about? No. Am I taking uncommon signposts over this? Yes. But will this always make the cut if it ends up in my pool? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I'm not cutting.
It's not at sorcery speed, so you can like do it at end step. Feels pretty fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying in chat about not putting stun counters on it. You're right in that it won't untap, but you won't get the ability, but you might actually want to let your other thing untap.
Yes. So it works as the idea wasn't in how many ways can I draw cards. The idea was in how many ways can this be useful to me. And if my 5/5 is about to kill them and they stun it, then I want my 5/5 to attack, right?
Oh, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. It's also a good way to burn through sagas, which is really important. Yeah, I think this is a fine card. It's one of those enablers. It doesn't win the game. It's not super powerful, but it is a nice piece of the pie. If your 2-drop slot looks like this, then you tend to be very happy. So, I mean, I'm never cutting it. I'm going to say it's a 3.
Yeah, I think I'm at 2.5 until we start seeing more counters.
Fair. Gray Heaven's Navigator. 3 mana for a 3/2 flash. When the Navigator enters the battlefield, scry 1. Okay, so this is the other guy, but not Swole?
Yeah, it's the non-legendary version.
This is fine. This feels like a 2.
With flash, I guess. Yeah.
It's playable, but the power creep is real. Holy shit.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a 2. You'll definitely want it in that blue-green Scry Matters deck.
Do you remember when 2 3s for 3 were just with no text were 2s?
Yeah.
That was not that long ago.
Yep. Yeah, this would have been like a 3.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we're not like, oh, this is like not that exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Hithlane's Knots? Did I say it right?
I'm not sure if Hithlane sounds right to me. I don't know what that. It's not a word I recognize.
If you like it, then I will take it as a win. Tap target creature, scry 1, draw a card at instant speed for 2. Not a stun counter, but it does replace itself and it does scry. So, like, yeah, sure. I think it's a fine 23rd playable card. It's probably like a 1.5.
Yeah. I think this is really just there for that spells matter deck if you just need more spells.
Yep, more spells,
or
cycle.
Or scries, I guess, for blue-green.
So you could draw an extra card off of your...
Yeah. I guess that's... Well, no, you know what? Actually, I'm thinking about this now, though. This actually This is a pretty boring card if you look at it, but it hits 3 different themes. It hits the draw multiple cards a turn deck, blue-white. It hits the spells matter deck in blue-red. And it hits the scry matters deck in blue-green.
Yep. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I still don't think the card's great. I just think it's interesting that it's a very simple card that hits 3 different themes.
Different archetypes, yeah. I mean, I think that is a thing we sometimes see where like a monocolor card can go into multiple different themes for the set for that color. Yep. I think that's fine. Horses of the Bruinen? Sure. Sorcery, return up to 2 target creature to their owner's hand. Scry 1, the ring tempts you. Sorcery speed, which makes me a little sad, but like, Return 2 creatures is actually quite a lot of tempo, and the ring tempts you, so you get to like potentially crack back with a pretty decent benefit the turn that this comes down. So I think it's playable.
Yeah, and this is another sort of iconic scene from the books and movies where the it says black horses on here, but the Nazgul on their steeds were chasing the hobbits and Aragorn or Strider at that point towards Rivendell, and they crossed the river, and the Nazgul didn't want to, and then they eventually spurred their horses across and got elvish magic summoned these sort of water elemental horses to sweep them away.
I remember that part of the movie.
Yeah.
Rating wise, what do you think?
I like to set like a 2-5.
I'm with you on that one. I think that sounds pretty good. Lorith the Healing House. Lorith of the Healing House, 3 mana for a 1/4. You can tap, untap another target permanent, tap, untap 2 other target legendary creatures. Wow. Tap, untap 2 legendaries. Huh. This feels pretty strong. It ramps you in blue.
Yeah, blue ramp, which we see occasionally, stuff that can untap any permanent. This card's fine. I'm not excited by it, but it can do some things.
Yeah. I think this is a fine filler card. I don't think I'm cutting this if it's in my pool. So to me, that's like at least a 2/5.
Yeah, I like it at 2/5, and it's just another legendary for all the legendary matters things.
Isolation at Orthanic. 4 mana for an instant. Put target creature into its owner's library second from the top. So it's a bounce spell that actually removes the card advantage. Like bounce spells are sometimes tempo, but card disadvantage. This is both, card neutral and tempo, so that's nice, but it is awfully expensive.
Yeah, but at instant speed, we see these cards usually once a set. They're always playable, but never super exciting.
I would rather have like the 2 mana kicker one that drew a card if you kicked it and it just went back to their hand.
Yeah. Well, that card was great.
Oh yeah, that card was fantastic. So every time I see the not that, I get a little disappointed. But I like bounce spells a lot. I tend to try to fit them in whenever I can. So for me, this is like a 2/5. It's a little pricey. You can't run very many of them, but one will make the cut more often than not, I think.
Yep, 2/5 sounds right.
All right. Moving on. I'll let you do this one.
Ithilien Kingfisher, 2 and a blue for a 2/1 flying bird. When it dies, draw a card.
Okay. I think that's fine. It's got a little bit like kind of baby stats. I'm used to seeing flyers much bigger for this mana cost, but it just draws you a card no matter what, unconditionally. So
Again, this is another one, right? A few years ago, this card would have seemed really good, and then you get Angelic, whatever it was from Streets of New Capenna. That was just so much better.
Right?
Like 2 to white, 2/1, gain a life, and draw a card right away.
Yep. God, that card is nutty. Like I had to buy 4 copies of it for like random commander decks. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Yes. Rating wise though, I think this is very playable. It's probably like a 3.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 3. We haven't seen a ton. I know there is some, but it might only be in gold cards of spirit tokens that could make this worse.
Yeah, certainly.
But otherwise, yeah, I like this card. 3 seems good.
All right, Knights of Dol Amroth. Yeah. 4 mana for a human knight, 3/3. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. We've seen this with like wizards. This is actually like a straight up reprint. It just has a different name. We saw one of these recently in a wizard set. I don't remember what it was.
It was in Brothers War.
Something like that.
I forget the name of the card. But it was basically the same card.
I think it was fine, and the fact that draw an additional card is a straight up archetype here in this format, it's a well-supported thing. So I think it'll be fine in just about any blue deck. You'll have some support for it. We're seeing a ton of cards that just like cycle and do something small. So you're going to get trigger after trigger after trigger on this. It won't be hard to find them. I think that's fine. I think it's like a 2/5.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2/5, and those cards, the more of these you have, the more of those ones we saw earlier get better.
And this will play down too if your deck just doesn't want it, but I feel like you'll know when that happens.
Also, I guess important to note is that the second ability on the ring turns your ring bearers into looters whenever they attack, which is a second card a turn.
Yeah.
So that can trigger this often.
So you like the same rating?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a 2-mana enchantment next. Whenever you scry, put a verse counter on the Lost Isle Calling. For 6 mana, draw a card for each verse counter on it. If you had 7 or more verse counters on it, take an extra turn after this one. Activate only as a sorcery. I mean, this belongs in one deck and one deck only.
Agreed. This card is not, I think, particularly good, but I'm going to want to try to make it work.
Yeah, I feel like even in like a medium scry deck, I still don't want this. Because you have to like put in a lot of work to make this work. You have to pay 2, you got to scry at least 2 or 3 times, and then you got to pay 6 to draw some cards, and you got to hope you eventually get to 7. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of scry in this set, but if I'm paying 2 and then 6,
yeah, exactly.
I probably need to draw 4 cards minimum.
Well, you can do it multiple times, right? Like
it exiles.
Oh, you're right. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think I'm playing this.
Yeah.
I thought you could activate it and then activate it like later.
Oh, nope.
I'm gonna give it a 1.
And you can only activate as a sorcery, so you can't even just hold the mana up.
Boo! I'm going 1.
I think it's a 1, but I'll probably try to play this card at some point to my detriment.
Yeah. Same, definitely same. Lorien Revealed for 5 mana for draw 3 cards, land cycling 1. Sure. Land cycling, there's no downside here.
No, this is the perfect type of card to put land cycling on.
And as long as your friends put more than 1 island in your deck, I think you're fine.
To be fair, this card costs blue, so I probably have at least 2 islands in the deck then.
And it depends on how many fixers I had.
You had no double white cards.
Rating wise, I think this is fine. I often cut 5 mana draw spells just because I feel like I have enough draw in my deck to not need it. But if for whatever reason you don't end up with some card draw, this is a perfectly fine as a 1 of. So I think this is probably a 2/5.
Do you like this more or the first card we saw, the draw 2, scry 2 for 4?
I like the other card more.
Okay. I'm close because I really like the island cycling. But I probably have it at the same rating, 2/5 for both, because I ended up agreeing with you on 2/5 for that one.
Yeah. All right. Meneldor Swift Savior? Sure. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own, return it to the battlefield under your control. So great for ETBs and flickers and all of the auras. We saw 1 in white and we already saw 1 in blue. So you get your stuff out from underneath those, which is really nice. Any sort of ETB, we saw a bunch in white that makes soldiers when they come into play, or when they come into play, they scry, things like that. So you're going to get some really decent value, and a 3/3 for 4 mana. I'm fine with that. That seems good. I'm here for a 3.
I'm also at a 3. This is the second time in this set now we've seen that wording where it's exile a creature you own and back under your control instead of creature you control and return it battlefield under its owner's control. It's interesting that they're doing it differently in this set.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to see if that is relevant or if it's just like a shift in overall set design.
Yeah, agreed.
I will let you do this one.
Mtgnerdgirl Watcher, 1 in the blue for a 2/1 elf scout. Whenever you scry, Mtgnerdgirl Watcher gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. The ability triggers only once each turn. 2 mana 2/1 that becomes 3/1 unblockable if you scry. That seems decent.
I've
in the
seen
right
a
deck.
I've seen a lot of decks like this. There was a 2/1 for 2 whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it gets unblockable.
Yep.
This is like a little harder to trigger, but also gets bigger. So it's probably like mitigates it, I think. I think there's a lot here. A lot of decks aren't going to care about this, but I think there is just a straight up build around having 5 of these and being happy.
Yeah, I could see that. You're right in that they put this card in every set. 2 mana, 2/1 plus a mechanic to get unblockable.
Yep. Rating wise, I think it's like a 2, and then it plays up if you're in the Scry deck.
Yes, yeah. And weirdly, it probably gets even higher if you're in that deck, and like the second or third one might even be worth more because then you're just building straight around it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like in the Scry deck, I want 4 or 5 of these. That's totally fine. Yeah, I actually love that deck. So, all right, we've got Pelargir save fuck.
Pelargir.
I cannot say the words. Pelargir
You want me to do this one?
Why is all of these words hard?
Because they're all made up.
Pelargir Savior. Is that closer?
Well, it's Survivor, but
God damn it. Pelargir Survivor. I get so stumbly in the middle bit that I then forget whatever else is in my head. Pelargir Survivor. She sells Pelargir servers over the Survivor shore.
And there's a baby in the art.
Pelargir. Okay, you do this one. I'm done.
Next up, we have Pelargir Survivor. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 human peasant that taps to add 1 mana of any color, but only for instants or sorceries. You can pay 5 in a blue to have target player mill 3.
Cookie time! Cookie time! Cookie time! This is how we're going to unlock some cookies. Excellent. Good to know. Yeah, I think this is fine. There's a Spells Matters deck. You sometimes want these little poopers to help you cast your more expensive spells, and it's got a little alternate win condition built in. I'm okay with that.
It seems really expensive, but we see this in black a lot where you get like a kind of mopey creature that has 5 or 6 mana, like Drain 2, as a very slow alternate win con. So, and those are always good. Now, Drain 2 is better than Mill 3, but...
Well, it's usually just like Do 2, which is not quite Drain 2, but...
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think this is exactly like you're saying. You don't really think about the last clause, but it will kill a fool from time to time, and that's nice to have a nice emergency button in your deck for board stalls.
Yep, it feeds the blue-red spells deck by helping to cast instants or sorceries. Milling we've seen it might be good in blue-black.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this card it kind of does a lot for a 2-drop.
Yeah, I mean, if you need 2-drops, I think you're happy and fine to have this, and that's kind of all I need to know. It's not exciting, but it's going to be a curve filler, and it's going to be put into my deck just fine. So I think I put that at a 2.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Press the enemy. Real words. 4 mana for an instant. Return target spell or non-land permanent from an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell equal or lesser to the mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. That's quite a bit of tempo you have there.
A lot of tempo in that.
All the better to see you with, my dear.
I mean, 4 mana, bounce your 6-drop, play a 5-drop, or play a 5 mana sorcery.
Yeah.
You draw 3 or something.
I'm playing this card. This is like a 3/5.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 3/5. I think that's right. You just need to have the right amount of good instants or sorceries in your deck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Rangers of Ithlian. Don't care. Human Ranger, 3/3 with Vigilance. For 4 mana, when the Rangers enter the battlefield, gain control of up to 1 target creature with lesser power for as long as this Ranger is on the battlefield. So here is one of the first gain control cards. This allows us to flicker it by all of those owner cards, right, that we've seen.
Yep.
And this also says the ring tempts you. So were these rangers, I assume, like searching for the ring?
I honestly don't remember Rangers of Ithilien being a particular part of the story. I'm sure it was probably more in the books than in the movies because it's been a while since I've read them. I mean, I remember Ithilien as a place, but not the Rangers specifically.
Okay. Rating wise, I think it's fine. I love the idea of stealing some people's stuff. Yes, I think this is probably 4 mana, 3/3 with vigilance. Already solid. And steals some stuff, and the ring tempts you. Yeah, to me, this is like a 3/5.
Yeah. I think it's about a 3/5. And I kind of just remembered what this is, the Rangers of Ithilien, because they weren't really addressed by name in the movie. This is the group that Faramir, as we saw in White, commands. They end up with Frodo, Samwise, and the ring, all there later in the movie, in the third movie.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to mention, I saw someone say they're disappointed we're not reading all the flavor text. So there's like 300 something cards. We read them all out and we discuss each of them in detail. So by the end of it, like, we don't really have a voice left. The other thing is doing all of those takes about, what do you think, like maybe 8-ish hours of stream time?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so like if we were to then read the things and discuss them, like I totally agree. We do point out ones that we see that we really like, or if chat says and makes a special note of like a particularly spicy flavor text, then we will like draw attention to it. So feel free to point those out if you see them as well. But we just simply do not have the voice or time to go over all of the flavor text. All right, Saruman the White. Why are you in blue?
Already a flavor fail.
Rude. 5 mana for an Avatar Wizard. He's a 4/4 for 5 mana with Ward 2. I'm in. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, amass Orcs 2. Yes! Yes! I'm in! Let's do it! This is a freaking uncommon?
Yeah. This card's very good.
Yes!
It feels, I don't know, the flavor, obviously the white being in blue feels weird, but if you're already going to just go off color, character-wise, I would feel this should be black at this point, but and amassing orcs fits into both colors of this set, but
I mean, what it's doing is black, like amassing orcs and stuff, but it doesn't have any drawback to it. It doesn't have anything black about it, really. So, like, I don't know.
Oh, I agree.
It's fine.
I agree with that. I just meant Saruman as a character at that point of what they're showing, and when he's controlling orcs is very evil.
But is this still in the Saruman the White? Like, they still think he's a good guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still refer to him a lot as Saruman the White the entire time. But, yeah, that could be it.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably earlier in the storyline. So,
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, true.
Rating-wise, like, normally, like, on our older scale, this would be much closer to, like, a 4. Like, if this just does its thing, it's a 4/4. It makes 2/2s every time you cast 2 spells. Like, that's going to just win you the game. But I think the power creep is so real that, like, we have to be a little bit more reasonable with these things.
Yeah, I think I've got it like a 3/5, because you do have to be, I mean, you're spending 5 on this, so it shouldn't be too hard to cast your second spell after that, but you might not have a lot of cards left in your hand.
There's so much card draw.
Yeah.
So much. And things are just cycling like crazy. We've seen like 5 cyclers in this color so far.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the card's very good.
Yeah, it seems super strong. And by cyclers, I don't mean like land cycling. I mean,
no,
like,
I know what you mean.
Do 2, scry draw, whatever. So I think that will be easier than normal sets. I don't know. This feels so strong to me. Like, this is to me pretty close to 4. I think this might be the strongest uncommon I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
So strong. All right. Saruman's Trickery. We have 3 for an instant. Counter target spell, amass 1. It's just cancel plus. Like, everything is just getting good here. Um, yeah, I'm fine with this. We're playing one of these. The fact that it makes a creature now gives it like next to no downside as far as like tempo stuff goes. But
Yeah, and
what do you
it's not
think?
always a 1/1, which a lot of times means absolutely nothing. Late game, it might be a counter on something to make it big enough to get through.
Yeah,
Um,
but regardless, I'm always anytime you cancel
yeah,
a spell, you're usually pretty happy. And if I'm getting a 1/1 out of the deal, then that seems fine to me.
yeah, we've seen some flash stuff and some instant speed, other things you would want to keep up. So that always helps make counter spells better.
Yeah. Rating wise, what do you think?
I think this is like a 2/5. I mean, we gave the Essence Scatter plus a 3, I think, and this is worse than that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I feel like I would probably play. I think I want to rate them roughly the same, like a 3. But the difference is I would play multiples of the other one, but I would play one of these.
Sure.
Like that's kind of where I am.
Fair enough.
Scroll of Isildur.
Isildur.
Stop making a fake accent, Yanks.
That's how you say it. It's Isildur.
Okay. Chapter 1. Gain control of up to one target artifact as long as you control Isildur. The ring tempts you. For 2, chapter 2, tap up to 2 target creatures. Put a stun counter on each of them. Draw a card for each tapped creature. Target opponent control. Draw cards for each. Okay. So you're guaranteed to get 2 draws out of this at the end, basically. And in addition, they can't attack you really without letting you draw more stuff. So this seems great. I'm in.
Yeah, this card's very good. I mean, it's possible the first chapter is just a whiff, but you still get
Yes.
the ring at least. So he's not getting completely nothing. And yeah, a lot of tempo, and then should be drawing at least a couple cards. I like it.
Yeah. It's like a slow divination with, the stun stapled on. Yeah, this is a lot of value, honestly.
Yeah, for story purposes, Isildur is the last alliance that basically fought Sauron before the whole the books, and he's the one that took up the broken hilt of Elendil's sword to basically slice the ring off of Sauron's hand, but he was unable to resist sort of the temptation of the ring to go and destroy it, which kept Sauron's spirit alive.
Okay. I don't really remember that part.
It's you see it in the movies. It's in like it's very early on when they're talking about giving kind of like a prologue.
Yep. Okay. That now it rings a bell a little bit.
Yeah.
Rating wise, I like this card a lot. It's like a 3/5.
I think I've got it as a 3. It's still very good, but it is very slow.
I like it. I'm gonna be higher than you. Soothing of Schmeagol. Return target non-token creature to its owner's hand. The ring tempts you.
Okay.
Sure. I like bounce spells that also tempt you.
Yeah, non-token does matter because you can't bounce an army, which could be a very large threat.
Could be. I don't think this is going to be as bad as like Strixhaven, though.
No, true, with all the 4/4 elementals everywhere.
We'll have to see what it looks like when we get to the like black red when we get there. But there was like those fractals got so big.
Yeah, the blue-green fractals and blue-red with all the 4/4 elementals. And
like someone just played a 6-mana spell and made a 26/26 and I couldn't bounce it. Like, what the hell is that?
Like body of research, XX equal to cards in the library.
I just died to that during Nerd Con. Someone casted it and then they gave the trample. And I was like, okay, well, I have a bounce spell. GG. So dumb. Yeah, rating wise, I think this is fine. I'm happy to do the thing, happy to be tempted. So yes, probably a 2/5 for the first one. Not playing a ton of these though.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Stern Scolding. 1 mana for an instant, counter target spell with power or toughness. Target creature spell with power or toughness 2 or less. Very situational. I mean, sideboard, sure. You're going to board this in against like aggressive decks, but for best of one, I'm not going to play this.
Short answer for limited is, yeah, this is just a 1, maybe in the sideboard. This card is absolutely busted in Eternal formats, though.
Who cares about that? Storm of Sauron. 6 mana for an enchantment. Ward 3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. Wow. Except the second copy is not a legendary. You may choose new targets for the copy. A copy of a permanent becomes a token. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm playing this spell.
It's weird. This feels like a card that you shouldn't play because it just feels like one of those. You always have the mythic enchantments that don't do anything.
Yeah, but
And
this one's
they
good.
Look cool. They look cool, but they aren't actually good. This one though might be good. It's painfully slow, but it is very powerful.
Don't care. It's going to kill some people. Because you just play this, right? And then you cycle into whatever, and then you just win. Play all the cyclers. Yes, please. I mean, rating-wise, it's a build-around. It's a 1 or it's a, 4.5. It's going to win you the game. It's going to be absolutely busted. So, yeah. Most decks, it's a 1. But we're going to build around it for sure.
It's probably like pack 1 a 4.5, pack 3 a 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Surrounded by orcs, 4 mana, amass 3. Then target player mills X cards, where X is the amassed army's power. So it's a 3/3 for 4 that mills my opponent for that amount in most decks. This is whatever.
Yeah,
although,
I think this is just.
I will say, achievement unlocked to draft 6 of these and just mill your opponent out. Like, cookie time, baby. This is how we unlock cookies. All right. That's my first draft. I've decided. Pack 1 pick run, surrounded by orcs, mill our opponent out. Let's do it.
I feel like this format is going to have a lot of cookies and a lot of bad drafts.
Yes. Yes. And I live for it. My poor gem count is just fucking straight down the dumpster. straight down the toilet, into the dumpster. That's fine. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And I'm fine for it. So the average deck, I'm off of it. I think it's like a 1/5.
Yeah, I think it's a 1/5 in the average deck. Even if you're not trying to do mill shenanigans, there are amass decks that'll want this card more, but yeah, I think it's a 1/5 at its base.
But I look forward to drafting 6 of them. All right, Treason of Isengard. Don't
Isengard.
care. I don't. Oh, Isengard. I knew that one. As soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, that is what that word says. But I never read the books, right? So I never saw the word. Yeah. So just in my head, that's how I would read it. Whatever. I'm sorry. I can see the comments in my YouTube channel right now, just being like, "What is wrong with you? You were the worst. We're never coming back." I'm sorry. I never read the books. I did see the movies many times. Put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Amass 2. I'm okay with this, actually. You have to have spells that are worth it. But I feel like you can really chain into some really nice stuff. You put your card draw back on top, amass 2. You amass 3, mill them for 3. Play this, amass 2, put that back on top, and then you pay 4, mill them for 8, and have an 8/8 that you attack them with. I'm in.
In Magic or Christmas Land.
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful here. I happen to love this place. I never intend to leave.
That'll be the next holiday card, Magical or Christmas Land.
What's this? There's something in the air. What's this? Orcs milling everywhere.
Everywhere.
Oh, this video is going really long. I'm sorry, YouTube. I think this is fine. It's like a 2.5.
I don't like this card. I think it's like a 2. It's card disadvantage. I mean, I guess you're making a 2/2 for 3, but you're spending a card to replace your top draw, which is just card disadvantage, so not all of it.
I don't think it's like a 2/2 for 3 is not a great rate, but it's not enough for me to think it's complete card disadvantage. And I think that they're with the spells matter deck and how powerful the cards are that we're seeing. I think that will be a little bit more valuable than usual. So I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll probably play like it's going to depend on the value of my spells. Certainly, I think the average is probably closer to a 2 to a 2.5. But you're right. There will be absolutely some decks that just have zero interest in this spell.
Yeah.
All right. The Watcher in the Water. 5 mana for a legendary creature Kraken. It's a 9/9. Whenever it enters the battlefield, tapped with 9 stun counters on it. Okay. Whenever you draw a card during the opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. So it poops out a tentacle. When the tentacle dies, it untaps and cracks somebody, but you also put a stun counter on something else?
Yes.
Huh.
But you have to draw a card on their turn to make the tentacle.
So there's a lot of hoops here.
Well, and that's true. It doesn't actually untap. Right? Because if you have stun counters on it, if it would become untapped, you remove a stun counter.
Oh, shit. So you have to draw a card on their turn like 9 times? No, because it still you still remove a stun counter on your untap.
On your turn, yeah.
And then you just get to remove a few extra if you're drawing cards on their turn and also running your tentacles under a bus.
And stunning their stuff.
Oh, okay. For some reason, when I first read that, I thought you were putting a stun counter back on one of your other things. I thought it was like a downside. But no, this is actually like a fine thing. All right, like it's playable. I can't imagine I'm going to draw a lot of cards on their turn.
That's what you just need enough opportunities to do that. Some of those instant speed kind of cantrips.
And let's say you have 2. What do you think this card is?
Oh, this card's like a 1. At that point. It's a turn 15 9/9 or turn 14 9/9.
Yeah.
If I play it on curve.
And even if you have 6, like you're only going to draw 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, unless you can find something in gold, maybe that's repeatable.
There was that looter, that common looter.
Yeah, that would help for sure.
So if you don't, and even then you're going to burn through your deck pretty quickly to get 9 stun counters off. You got to get, it's still going to take 4 more turns after you do this to get to do the thing. Yeah,
I mean, unless you can draw multiple instances of card draw on their turn, which is really tough to do.
Yeah.
Cool card.
I still think you're right. You can draw multiple cards on their turn, but I think you're still averaging 1 per turn.
Agreed.
So like it's still a minimum of turn 10 or some nonsense. So I'm off this card. It's a severe build around. I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 1 to be. If you have the exact right deck, would be fun to play with. It's a cool card for, a creature from the story that was living outside the Mines of Moria, and all you really saw were its tentacles going after things.
I'm going to draft it. Certainly, we're going to build around it. Pack 1, pick 1, and it will be good. But other than that, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
All right, Willow Wind, 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer that says when it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Okay, scry matters. That's a thing. It's a fine body on its own. It blocks well. I think this is like a 2/5.
Yeah, like that's a pretty simple card, but big flyers are nice. All
right, that's it. We finished blue. We're actually not that far in. Like I think we actually hit the 1 hour mark. Yanks, nice. What do you think of blue?
I think it's good. Didn't have a ton in the way of sort of we only saw that one kind of weird lockdown enchantment. which is interesting. Some kind of didn't seem like a lot of power in the rare and mythics like we see normally, but a lot of powerful uncommons.
A lot of synergy-oriented cards, more so than the other like in white that we saw, where everything was like, oh, this seems fine. This is like standalone in a vacuum playable. I can see how it kind of synergizes with this or this or this. These cards were very, very specific. You know, scry matters, draw twice matters. So very synergy-powered cards, less powerful on their own.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching on the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you guys missed our introduction, you guys can learn everything you need to know about new and returning mechanics, as well as the draftable archetypes in the introduction video. It's our most popular video in the set reviews for sure. So make sure you guys go check it out. And also, white was already published. And by the time you're watching this, I'm sure the rest of the set review is published as well. Leave us a comment down below and let us know what you thought of blue, and go check out those other videos. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.